Yat Eitene Masananishne. This is Navajo Grandma, and here is another presentation. We are going to go quickly into this. It's called The First Contact. Okay, you can see this, you know, Grandma's notes. And basically the idea, the concept of the first contact is between Indigenous Native Americans and European groups of any sort. And a contact means it's a meeting between people completely unaware of each other. And that's basically what it was completely about in the beginning. Now, in the East, we're going to start with the contact. The first contact went from the East and then it went West. Okay? In the East, in the Northeast there, were the Mikmaq Tribe and the First Nations in 1497. Okay, look at this. Can you see it? Okay. John Cabot was an Italian navigator, and under the commission of Henry VII of England, the earliest known European exploration of the coastal of North America, basically since the Norse visited in Vinland in the 11th century, arrived on the Atlantic coast, and they met the Mi'kmaqs, and thereafter they had regular contact. Now remember, they had a really good relationship, so they started you know, doing all kinds of enterprise with them, and it was wonderful. Anything that brought money in, and they helped each other, etc. In 1513, there was now we're going to go head down to Florida, okay, on the other end, in the east. And there was a tribe called the Native Colusa. They were in the southwest portion of the coast of Florida. And usually they traded with the Caribbeans, and so they knew of the British long before Ponce de Leon landed in South Florida. And this tribe went extinct. They are no longer in existence. And there was only about 50,000 of them. And you know, as I reading about them, that more than likely there was disease that was brought in from the explorers and the Spanish and the British that probably got rid of all of them. And as you know, that's kind of what happened with a lot of the Native Americans. Then in 1584, we'll move up from Florida to North Carolina. The Tuscaroras were in North Carolina. And Sir Walter Raleigh, he sent explorers to North America. And the first English settlement was in Roanoke Island. And the explorers met who you call Chief Wingina. The explorers take 2 Indians back to England. They teach them to be civilized. They both start to speak English, and, you know, totally changed. But that was the beginning of that in 1584. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Okay, this is, Grandma will just show you little bits here. And then in 1585, basically, they were able to move inland and made their first British settlement. Then, in 1601, you've heard of Jamestown, okay, in Virginia. And this was King James I. Basically, there was a new colony immediately besieged by attacks from the Algonquian natives, and there was also rampant disease and internal political strife. And basically, there was an encroachment on Native American lands, and all of a sudden we're getting greater contact. And the goal of Jamestown basically was to find gold and a water route to Asia. Now, because basically strategically located from Spanish ships, and because they went inland a little more so, again, it was to strategically let them be away from the coast so that the Spaniards could not fire in upon them. And there were the people who uh, wanted in England, they wanted to create wealth. And so there was a lot of London investors, and basically, and they also wanted to create a society of Native Americans and or around them. And again, Christianity was, they're trying to be introduced, and they were being introduced by the Spaniards. In 1776, and let's look at this one, okay, 200 years, Native Americans had kept the British out of Kentucky, as it was only a place for hunting, and it was sacred and without any tribal inhabitants. And guess who came by? Now, we always sing songs about Daniel Boone. I remember those songs, and he was considered quite the guy who was amazing. And well, he blatantly decided to build a cabin in Kentucky. Kentucky is where, like I said, it was only for hunting, and it was respected by all tribal members. And he went in, and during the winter, he built a cabin, and he called it Fort Boonesboro. And then that kind of opened it up, the Cumberland Gap there, and for the whites to, the white men to claim Indian lands in Ohio. And the whites were given bounty and script, and there goes the Indian Wars. You wonder, the Indian Wars ensued, and there was land runs for Native American land. And then there was removal of Indians that started in Georgia and all the way to Oklahoma. You know the Trail of Tears, and over 75 tribes were removed. Now, this is the reason why Grandma is talking about this is because you have to remember there's information, records. So gradually, the explorers and different Spaniards and British are moving up from the east and going west. And with that move, things are happening, okay? Again, the Native American lands are being taken, and there's wars. There's all kinds of, everyone's being displaced. The natives are being displaced. And where they used to hunt, people are coming in, and settlers are moving in and taking what they want. And again, the Spaniards are still wanting to get gold. And so just a big historic mess, how everyone came. And about the time that Grandma was referring to, about Daniel Boone, basically that's kind of where it slowed down in Ohio and up and down the Kentucky, because everybody was grabbing land and people were starting to move in. But then the ships would be coming soon, even with more people. And guess what happened? Along with all of that came disease. And so with that movement across, I'm going to now give you another video about records, okay? Because this kind of came in question. And I will explain that to you. So I think this is just a quick review. Basically, I wanted you to hear about the point of contact. We need to be aware of that, and how it started. The Spaniards came, the British came, and how they slowly edged their way west. And so we're in Kentucky, in Ohio, or Ohio and Oklahoma-ish area. And I'm going to give you a little more in the next video. But Grandma loves you. And while I'm standing here, this is Hungopavi in Chaco Canyon. And if you look behind me over here, there is Fajada Butte, where the clock is, the seasonal, with the rings and everything. If you go look to your left, there's a mesa. That's called Chakra Mesa. That mesa winds all over and down into the into where my grandfather basically had his home. But my grandfather lived upon that mesa as he would come down, and then he would excavate and then go back up. Now, when in the 1868, when Kit Carson was trying to get all the Native Americans together, okay, he already did the scorched earth in Canyon de Chelly, burnt everything, food, everything, trees, anything that gave sustenance to the Navajo or the Dene people. Well, here, the Kit Carson found a way, and him and the the Spaniards, or Hispanic people, men, the military, went up on that. They finally found a way, because that's where the Dene people fought from, and they couldn't get up there. And so Kit Carson eventually made his way up there, and he forced them down and made the long walk into this part of the in the Eastern Agency. This part went down through Pueblo Pintado, through the canyons, and then out to Blue Water and towards basically where they ended up. And so it's really sad kind of to think about it, as they made their way to Fort Sumner, and many people died. And you know, Grandma almost stepped on a snake, and I can imagine if you were struck, if you had been bitten by a snake, they left you. You were dead. I mean, there was nothing they could do. So there was bodies all along the way. These are women and children and men. How horrific is that? So anyways, that's enough. I'm going to continue in just a bit, the next video about the records and how we got our records, basically, and how Grandma, with oral history and everything, we do have information, and how it came across, and how we now gather and procure documentation, and we can go back to the first contact in the East, in the Central, and in the West. So Grandma will continue after that. Thank you for watching. Love you guys.